You feel lost right now, and you don't even know why. It's like something inside you has changed, but nothing around you makes sense anymore. There was a time when things felt clearer. You knew what you wanted, where you were going, and who you were trying to become. But now, everything feels uncertain. And the worst part is, you can't explain it to anyone. People around you think you're just confused or distracted. But deep inside, you know this feeling is something deeper than that. It's not just confusion, it's a shift. A quiet transformation that's happening within you. You're not the same person you used to be. And that's exactly why your old life doesn't feel right anymore. The things that once excited you don't hit the same. The places you used to belong now feel unfamiliar. Even the people you were closest to sometimes feel distant, like you're on a completely different path now. And that scares you. Because it feels like you're losing everything at once. But what if you're not losing anything? What if you're being separated from what no longer aligns with who you're becoming? You see, growth doesn't always feel like progress. Sometimes it feels like everything is falling apart. Because before something new can enter your life, something old has to leave. And that process, it's uncomfortable. It's confusing. And yes, it hurts. But it's necessary. Because you cannot step into a new version of yourself while holding on to the old one. Right now, you're in between two versions of your life. The one you're outgrowing, and the one you haven't fully stepped into yet. And this space in between, this is where most people give up. Because it feels like nothing is happening. It feels like you're stuck. But you're not stuck. You're being prepared. Prepared for something bigger than what you can currently see. Something that requires a stronger, wiser, and more aware version of you. That's why things feel slow right now. That's why things feel uncertain. Because you're not just moving forward. You're being rebuilt from the inside. Every doubt you've been feeling. Every moment of overthinking. Every night where your mind just won't stop. It's not random. It's part of the process. You're being forced to question everything. To let go of illusions. To see things clearly for what they really are. And clarity? It doesn't always feel good at first. Because sometimes it shows you truths you weren't ready to accept. About people, about situations, and even about yourself. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's when everything starts to change. You begin to move differently. Think differently. Feel differently. And slowly, without even realizing it, you start becoming someone new. Someone stronger. Someone more aware. Someone who no longer settles for less than they deserve. But before you fully step into that version, you have to go through this phase. The phase where everything feels uncertain. The phase where nothing makes sense. The phase where you feel lost. And I know, it's not easy. There are moments where you feel like giving up. Moments where you question if anything will ever change. Moments where you wonder if you're just wasting your time. But listen carefully. This is the part most people don't understand. Feeling lost is not a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you're evolving. Because when you're truly growing, you can't stay comfortable. Comfort keeps you the same. Growth forces you to change. And change? It's never easy. It stretches you. Challenges you. Pushes you beyond what you thought you were capable of. But it also reveals something powerful. It shows you who you really are. Not the version shaped by others' expectations. But the real you. The one with purpose. The one with potential. The one who's capable of more than they've ever imagined. And that version of you, it's trying to emerge right now. That's why things feel heavy. That's why your mind feels overloaded. Because you're not just dealing with life. You're dealing with transformation. And transformation is messy. It's uncomfortable. It's unpredictable. But it's also powerful. Because on the other side of this confusion, there is clarity. On the other side of this uncertainty, there is direction. And on the other side of this feeling of being lost, there is a version of you that is stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. But you have to get through this part first. You have to trust the process, even when you don't understand it. Because not everything in life is meant to make sense immediately. Some things are meant to be felt before they're understood. And right now, you're in that phase. The phase where everything feels unclear. But something inside you knows. Something greater is coming. You may not see it yet. You may not understand it yet. But you can feel it. That quiet voice inside you. That refuses to give up. That keeps pushing you forward. That's not there by accident. That's your purpose calling you. And even though the path ahead looks uncertain, you are exactly where you need to be. This is not the end of your story. This is the beginning of something bigger. So don't rush this phase. Don't try to escape it. Go through it. Learn from it. Grow through it. Because one day, you're going to look back at this moment and realize this was the turning point of your life. And now, you're starting to realize something. That this feeling you've been fighting was never meant to break you. It was meant to wake you up. Because think about it. If everything in your life still felt comfortable, you would have never questioned anything. You would have stayed the same. You would have kept repeating the same patterns. And deep down, you know that's not the life you're meant to live. You know that's not the life you're meant to live. There's something inside you that refuses to settle. Something that keeps telling you, there's more. More for your life. More for your purpose. More for who you're becoming. And that more is exactly what's pulling you through this phase. Right now, it may feel like you're walking alone. Like no one truly understands what you're going through. But this path, it was never meant to be crowded. Because not everyone is meant to go where you're going. Some people are only part of your beginning. Some are part of your lessons. And only a few are meant to walk with you into your next chapter. That's why certain connections started fading. That's why some relationships changed without explanation. It wasn't random. It was alignment. Life is removing what no longer fits your future. Even if it hurts in the present. And yes, letting go is one of the hardest parts of growth. Because you don't just lose people. You lose memories, comfort, familiarity. You lose the version of yourself that existed with them. And that creates a kind of emptiness. A silence that feels uncomfortable at first. But that silence, it's not there to punish you. It's there to make space. Space for clarity. Space for new energy. Space for the life that's trying to enter. You can't hear your purpose clearly when your life is full of noise that doesn't belong. That's why things have slowed down. That's why everything feels quiet. Because this is your reset. A moment where life is asking you to pause. To reflect. To realign. And I know. Pausing feels like falling behind. But it's not. It's preparation. Because when things start moving again, they won't move the same way they did before. They'll move faster. Stronger. More aligned with who you truly are. But for that to happen, you need to trust this phase. even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it feels uncertain. Because the truth is, you're closer than you think. Closer to clarity, closer to opportunity, closer to becoming the person you've been trying to be. But right before that breakthrough, there's always a moment of doubt. A moment where everything feels like it's not working. A moment where your mind tells you to give up. That moment, that's the test. The test of whether you trust yourself or your fear. Because fear will always try to pull you back. Back into comfort. Back into what's familiar. Even if what's familiar is not what's right for you. But growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens when you choose to keep going. Even when you're unsure. And that's what you're doing right now. Whether you realize it or not. You're still here. Still trying. Still searching for something more. And that matters. Because most people quit at this stage. Most people go back to what's easy. But you didn't. You stayed. Even when it felt heavy. Even when it felt confusing. And that tells me something important. You're not ordinary. You're someone who's meant for more. Someone who's meant to grow beyond limits. And that's exactly why your journey feels different. Because you're not here to live a normal life. You're here to build something meaningful. Something that reflects who you truly are. And that kind of life requires a different kind of process. A process that tests you, shapes you, prepares you. So when things feel difficult, don't see it as punishment. See it as preparation. Because everything you're going through right now is building the strength you'll need later. The patience, the clarity, the resilience. All of it is being developed in this phase. And one day, it will all make sense. You'll understand why things didn't work out. Why certain people left. Why certain paths closed. You'll see that none of it was random. It was all guiding you here. To this exact moment. Where you're finally starting to become aware of who you really are. And who you're meant to be. But here's the most important part. You don't need to have everything figured out right now. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need all the answers. All you need is the courage to take the next step. Just one step. Even if it's small. Even if it feels uncertain. Because clarity doesn't come from thinking. It comes from moving. From trying. From experiencing. And with every step you take, things will start to make more sense. Doors will begin to open. Opportunities will begin to appear. Not all at once. But little by little. That's how growth works. It's not one big moment. It's a series of small moments that slowly change your life. And right now, you're in one of those moments. A moment that feels confusing, but is actually shaping your future. So don't doubt yourself. Don't rush the process. And most importantly, don't give up on yourself. Because this feeling of being lost is not the end. It's the beginning. The beginning of a new chapter. A new direction. A new version of you. And when you finally step into that version, you'll realize something powerful. You were never lost. You were just being guided to something greater.